What is poppin', y'all? My name's Cody, and in this video, we're looking at 7 unexpected reasons why you might be struggling to improve at Fortnite. Now, improving takes time. You gotta continuously practice to better your mechanics, game sense, and all that stuff. But beyond just playing, what can you do to improve? That's what we wanted to look at for this video. Remember to like the video and sub to the channel, and let's get into it. Boom! When you think of piece control, you probably think of offensive variety, like when you box opponents. But what people need to start using more is the defensive kind, which can be just as useful since it essentially limits the extent your opponent can piece control you. And that includes some pretty basic stuff, like coning or walling ahead when you ramp to prevent getting blocked, or even just placing a cone in your box to add a second line of defense. But for a really great example of defensive piece control, let's look at Clicks during the DreamHack Finals. Here, he's up against a boxed up Booga and Jamper. Obviously, 2 really top tier players. But look at this, as soon as Clicks breaks through, he's coning and walls every spot he can. A really great practice, even if you don't know your opponents are there. But jumping ahead a bit, look at how Clicks goes to pressure Jamper's wall here. Clicks places and edits a wall before attacking his opponents. This is huge because when Jamper expands out, they're unable to wall in Clicks' direction. And take note, Clicks' opponent could have been safer if they built a cone on the ground when expanding. But since they didn't, Clicks responded with a ramp and the fight was pretty much over after that. Defensive piece control is the best way to counter getting piece controlled yourself. And we all hate this. So start thinking more about how you can utilize it the next time you play. Now guys, this is just one dope trick that Clicks has in his massive arsenal of moves. If you want to check out more hints and tricks from the man himself, head over to Pro Guides and check out Clicks' master course, where he's got tons of breakdowns and he walks you through step by step how the pros do it. Now, most people think that being skilled at Fortnite boils down to aiming and building. And while that is sort of true, there's one crucial aspect of the game we'd argue matters just as much: how you position yourself during fights. In a fight, your goal shouldn't be deal damage. I mean, that is the goal. But what you should prioritize over that is avoiding damage. That's the mindset you want to get into. Position to put yourself out of harm's way before going for damage. Not necessarily all the time, but before you make an edit, go for shots, or get pushed, you need to position so that you have room to either fall back or place builds for more cover. Take, for example, Vidil. In this 1 versus 2 he had in DreamHack. While his opponents could have done better, Vidil plays it so well. He utilizes right-hand angles for the peeker's advantage throughout the entire fight. And anytime those opportunities go away, he backs out and creates new ones. To find good angles, you often need to reposition. And it's the reason Vidil won this fight. He plays it to a T and even creates a bit of distance to play to his charged shotgun's primary strength: its range. Had he just tried to go for edit plays at the start, like a lot of players would, he probably would have just gotten gunned down. Well played, Vidil, well played. What goes hand in hand with positioning though are your peaks. Too many players make really lousy peaks that don't take advantage of the important things, like cover, specific right-hand edits, and jump shots. And we're not saying that's unacceptable, but in today's Fortnite, you're gonna have a really tough time improving as a player if you don't utilize proper peaks. Kanata is a fantastic example of a pro who has some of the best peaks out there. Like in this example, he takes the wall, but crouches behind his cone when making the edit so that he cannot get shot. In this one, he does a really swift double edit before getting behind his wall and finishing his opponent with a right-hand jump shot. Even if Kanata's getting pushed, he knows how to abuse concepts like the middle wall in his 2x1 to create favorable peaks that his opponents won't expect. And in this example right here, Kanata plays it flawlessly. He drops down, gets the wall, but as he goes to edit, he moves to the left. Then his opponent runs out, but Kanata's already positioned in a great spot. He can wall and cone, then again moves left to get behind cover for yet another strong right-hand peek, and just mops the floor with this guy. And look, while not every good peek involves a right-hand angle, most do, but that's just how it is. It's a fundamental concept that's easy to digest, but hard to master. And the best way for you to learn is to learn from the pros themselves. Either VOD review, watch videos, or hey, you can even use pro guides. Don't forget, we've got tons of courses by the top pros, so go check them out. Moving on, another way you can instantly win more fights is if you start using high walls. If you don't know what a high wall is, it's when you extend your crosshair really high when building up to place two walls above you. And this can be mixed with other build strats like side jumps for instance. But in many cases, that higher wall ends up in front of your opponent. And since you're building it from below, they usually don't even realize you've placed it. So you can then follow up with an edit into shots or even just box them in. We talked about high walls a bit before. But if you're new, the best way to practice is a creative map by Tito called Realistic Edits. There's a section in there specifically for practicing high walls, and it helps you learn not only how to place them, but also how to follow up after each one. In the past several months, high walls have become more and more essential during fights, not only as a preventative measure to avoid getting piece control, but as a way to be more aggressive on opponents above you. All it takes to learn is an extra bit of crosshair movement, so for how easy high walls are, you're going to see massive benefits by using them. The next thing that a lot of people overlook is keeping their guns loaded during fights, which is a seemingly minor thing, but there can be really deadly consequences if you forget. And this is very true when it comes to shotguns, especially the charge and lever action. Since those reload so slowly and have low ammo capacities to begin with, you need to pop in ammo every chance you get because the last thing you want is to be put in a 50-50 situation only for your shotgun to go click, click, oh god, and then you end up dying. If you find this as an issue, you need to spend several games focusing on reloading when you can. Not necessarily after every shot, but whenever there's a downtime during a fight. You should perform an ammo check. This is really the best way to learn. And after a while, you'll develop a good habit where you're reloading without having to think much about it. Probably one of the most prominent mistakes players keep making is overcommitting for high ground in fights. And this is super tough for a lot of players to wrap their heads around. It goes against our instinct to take high ground, since yeah, it's a powerful position to be in. But the way some players fight for it just doesn't add up. And height isn't straightforward to contest in general, unless you have some god tier retakes hidden up your sleeve or something like that. But if you don't, build fights can devolve into this ridiculously colossal mess that's A, easy to third party, and B, just wasted everyone's mats. So more often than not, you're better off contesting high ground for only a couple of attempts. And if they don't work, just give it up. Start chopping the base to force your opponent to drop, which you can then use as a better opportunity to either box fight or take height. And better yet, if they don't drop, you can even get a free kill from it. So don't overcommit in build battles, especially in solos, because high ground honestly isn't worth the enormous risks involved. But the last thing we need to talk about is one of the most detrimental mindsets to play with, and that's an unwillingness to adapt. I'm sure you've heard that advice before. Just adapt, bro. But lately, we've been seeing so much negativity surrounding changes to the game, and we really think that's holding a lot of players back. Take the new lever action shotgun, for example. So many players straight up thought it was trash when it came out because they used it like a previous shotgun. And when fights didn't go their way, instead of thinking, maybe I need to change my playstyle, or maybe I just need to learn how to use it a bit better, they simply dismissed it as a terrible weapon. But obviously, it wasn't a bad weapon. It just happened to require its own unique playstyle to be appropriately utilized. And we saw the same thing with the charge. Not only when it was released in Season 3, but even today, some players refuse to use it because they just don't like it, even though it's a very potent weapon when used correctly. And while there's nothing wrong with preferring a particular weapon or playstyle, the problem arises when you're restricted to that weapon. So like if you're in an early game situation, or if other weapons get vaulted and you're then limited to the guns you didn't like. We are basically saying that when something new comes out, you need to experiment with it. Even if it means you'll take a bunch of losses, it's part of the experience. If you don't try to adapt, you never will, and you'll only end up falling behind, which I'm sure none of us want. So to conclude, if you think any of the reasons in this video apply to you, try to make a conscious effort to improve upon them next time you play. Whether that means using weapons you don't usually prefer or practice high walls in creative, set yourself a goal and see it through. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the tips, remember to like the video and sub with the bell on for more. That's it for the video today, so good luck out there, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.